Imagine waking up to discover that every major civilization around you was collapsing. Cities are burning, trade has stopped. Kingdoms that ruled for centuries are suddenly disappearing. Around 1200 BC, this nightmare became reality. An event so devastating that historians still struggle to explain it. This was the Bronze Age collapse. Before the collapse, the Bronze Age was one of the most prosperous periods in human history. Powerful empires ruled the Mediterranean. Egypt built monumental temples. The Hittites controlled Anatolia. Mycenaean Greece flourished. This ancient world depended on trade. Copper arrived from Cyprus. Tin came from distant lands. Luxury goods moved across thousands of kilometers. Every kingdom relied on another. The Bronze Age had become humanity's first interconnected global system. Then, without warning, cracks began to appear. Trade routes became unstable. Food shortages emerged. Political tensions increased. At first, these problems seemed temporary, but they were only the beginning. Within only a few decades, catastrophe struck. One city after another was destroyed. Entire kingdoms vanished from history. The ancient world entered one of the darkest periods humanity had ever seen. One of the first great powers to disappear was the Hittite Empire. For centuries, they had rivaled Egypt itself. Then suddenly, their cities were abandoned. Their capital, Hattusa, was destroyed. An empire that once dominated the region simply vanished. Across the Aegean Sea, another great civilization was collapsing. The magnificent Mycenaean kingdoms, famous for their palaces and warriors, began to disappear. One after another, their cities were destroyed. Trade stopped. Writing vanished. For centuries afterward, Greece entered a period historians now call the Greek Dark Age. An entire civilization had fallen into silence. Even mighty Egypt was not safe. During the reign of Pharaoh Ramesses III, mysterious invaders appeared on Egypt's borders. Ancient inscriptions describe entire peoples arriving by land and sea. Egypt fought desperately to survive. Although the kingdom endured, its age of greatness was nearing its end. The Egyptians called them only one thing: the Sea Peoples. To this day, nobody knows exactly who they were. Were they pirates, refugees fleeing disaster, or entire civilizations migrating in search of survival? Their identity remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Recent scientific evidence suggests that climate change may have played a major role. Tree ring studies and ancient records point toward years of severe drought. Crops failed. Food became scarce. Entire populations may have been forced to abandon their homes. The ancient world was becoming increasingly unstable. Some historians believe another disaster struck the Mediterranean, a chain of powerful earthquakes. Cities already weakened by famine and invasion may have suffered devastating damage. Temples collapsed, walls crumbled, entire communities were thrown into chaos. The Bronze Age world was deeply interconnected. When one kingdom collapsed, trade routes were disrupted. When trade failed, economies suffered. As economies weakened, governments became unstable. One disaster triggered another. The collapse spread like falling dominoes across the ancient world. As kingdoms collapsed, entire populations began to migrate. Families abandoned their homes. Warriors, merchants, and farmers traveled across dangerous lands, searching for food and safety. The Eastern Mediterranean was suddenly filled with refugees. For many, there was no empire left to return to. Food shortages soon turned into unrest. As grain supplies disappeared, cities struggled to survive. People began to rebel against rulers who could no longer provide security. Order started to break down. The foundations of civilization itself were crumbling. One of the greatest tragedies of the collapse was the disappearance of knowledge. In many regions, writing itself vanished. Records were lost. Skills disappeared. Generations grew up unable to read the achievements of their ancestors. History entered a dark age. Great cities that once controlled trade and politics became silent ruins. Busy harbors stood empty. Markets disappeared. Nature slowly reclaimed places that had once been centers of human civilization. Entire urban worlds simply vanished. For the people living through these disasters, it must have seemed like the end of the world. Empires were gone. Trade had collapsed. Cities burned. No one knew why these events were happening. To ordinary people, civilization itself may have appeared to be dying. More than 3,000 years later, archaeologists are still uncovering the scars of this catastrophe. Across Greece, Anatolia, Syria, and the Levant, they have discovered the same pattern: burned cities, destroyed palaces, abandoned settlements, layer after layer of ash and ruin. The evidence suggests that this was not a local disaster. It was a crisis that engulfed an entire world. But one question still remains: what truly caused the Bronze Age collapse? Was it invasion, climate change, earthquakes, rebellion, economic collapse? Or was it a perfect storm, where multiple disasters struck at the same time? The story of the Bronze Age collapse feels surprisingly familiar. Today, our world is also deeply interconnected. Global trade, climate change, migration, political instability, the same forces that may have destroyed ancient civilizations still exist today. History does not repeat itself exactly, but it often rhymes. Civilizations often appear permanent. Their cities seem eternal, their power appears unstoppable. Yet history tells a different story. The Bronze Age collapse reminds us that even the greatest societies can disappear. In only a few decades, an entire world was erased.